Welcome to the video version of our Atlanta Voiceover Studio and ProVoiceOverTraining.com podcast. As you're well aware, AI is a big topic. It's not going away. So, how do we navigate these waters? Are there actually companies that are on our side? Well, Heidi sat down with Ben Gottdiener, CEO of Narrativ.ai, whose mission is to be the marketplace for advertisers to license talent audio AI likenesses. And they actually entered into a major agreement with SAG-AFTRA a bit ago as part of a commitment to using only AI that's been, quote, ethically trained. And Heidi gets into that along with a bunch of other stuff as they talk about what is Narrativ.ai, plus how can voice actors use it for passive income, ethically trained AI, details of the SAG agreement with Narrativ.so, can non-union voice actors join, how to make Narrativ.ai work for you, and a whole lot more. So, without further ado, here's Heidi and Ben.
Well, I'm excited to have Ben Gottdiener here today on the Atlanta Voiceover Studio podcast. He is the CEO of Narrativ.ai. He's a graduate of Columbia University, and he was a previous deal team associate, that my Southern just came out on that one, with Bain Capital's Partnership Strategies Fund. And we are so excited to have him here today because if you followed Atlanta Voiceover Studio, you know we are all about embracing technology in a way that still honors the voice talent and the industry, and I think Narrativ is doing that. In fact, their whole mission is to be a marketplace for advertisers to license talent audio AI likenesses. But we'll get into more of that. I know some of you guys are raising your eyebrows right now. Just hold on. And Narrativ just entered into a major agreement with SAG-AFTRA as part of its commitment to using only AI that has been ethically trained. So Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so appreciative and I'm so excited to kind of dive deep today.
Great to be here, and I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, what is the elevator pitch for Narrativ?
You got a bunch of it already, but what we are is a marketplace for advertisers to license talent AI voice and use it to make advertisements, broadly speaking.
Perfect. Nailed it. You nailed your own elevator bit. So you and Rapolis were the ones that founded Narrativ. And so what was the motivation behind that?
Yeah, so this goes into a little bit of the history of voice models broadly. But to take you back 2 years ago, there was this new voice model that had been produced that was the first of its kind that allowed you to rapidly clone voices with 30 to 60 seconds of input audio. If you want to look up that model, you can still find it today. It's called Tortoise TTS. And saw this model came out, saw how good it was, and my mind started worrying in terms of where's this going to go, who's this going to affect. Part of what I saw when looking through the actual model outputs was I saw that one of my favorite audiobook narrators had had his voice cloned without his consent, and it had been used to make certain outputs for the model. So my reaction to this was, okay, clearly this is going to disproportionately affect talent. So what's a way that we can work with talent to produce hopefully just advertisements in their voice and pay them accordingly? So it took some time to shape that into what is today Narrativ, but that was sort of the inception of it and the motivation for it.
Yeah. I love it. Obviously, you are committed to ethically trained AI. That's exactly why you started this in the first place. But can you explain to us exactly what that, it sounds great. What does exactly that mean?
Yeah, so let's get into our agreement with SAG-AFTRA because that's part of what we agreed to with the union.
Okay.
So specifically what that means for us is that none of the voices that we upload get moved into the training data. So it's never the case that voiceover talent uploads a voice sample and then we say, hey, we're just going to take that and embed it into the latest training with respect to our model to make it better. Instead, what we use is a combination of ethically sourced open source audiobook data and some other things that are not using talent voice primarily to actually generate the output. So that's how it works broadly speaking. And then when it comes to our agreement with the union, we can't upload those samples to train the model, one. Two is outside of that, what we mean by ethical AI broadly, not necessarily the training, but ethical AI broadly, is ensuring that talent has one, fair compensation for the use of their voice, two, consent over how their voice gets used, right, across mediums, and three, control over when an advertiser on Narrativ comes and wants to license their voice, they can make sure that they review and approve the advertisement before it goes live. So there's a lot that's baked into this notion of ethical AI from the training to the actual use. So happy to go deeper into either of those, but there are really two ways to think about it.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And you said kind of the key words too of what we as voice actors are striving for as far as moving forward in this world of AI. AI. What, for a buyer or advertiser that comes to Narrative, what is the benefit for them use Narrative versus just going to an agent or going to an online casting site?
Yeah, so there are two main things that are important from the advertiser perspective. One is the ability to actually get my ad generated and deployed quickly, right? So advertisers, you can almost think about them as experimenters in some respects. So they want to find the advertisement that'll resonate most with their target end audience. And if it takes a lot of time to produce multiple versions of the same advertisement, they'll probably only produce one. So part of the benefit to them now is speed means there's more volume. It means I can test more. It means I can produce more, which means there's actually more work and more volume through the licensing model versus the traditional model today. So that's one of the key elements on their side is speed to produce and quantity of advertisements they can produce as a result. The second benefit to working with Narrative broadly is we're a vetted platform. So we're vetted by SAG-AFTRA. So if I want to license someone's voice, I can actually know that it is that person on the site. So there's actually limited risk for me to work with that talent on Narrative versus if I'm on another AI platform broadly, I don't know if that voice actually belongs to that person. There's no identity checker in those platforms to say, oh, this person has this voice, right? So that's the other benefit broadly to using Narrative. So it's really those two together.
That totally makes sense. If an advertiser is doing like multiple spots, is it just one payment for all of them, or do voice talent, like how does that work out? Like, do you guys charge have the same rate for the voice talent for each one of those, or?
So why don't we talk about the just pricing more broadly,
Okay.
Because it's a little bit tough to categorize just in one.
Sure.
One, it's important to say up front that talent sets their own price. Now the question is, what is that price derived on, right? So what is that based on? So the agreement we set up with the union is such that an advertiser can license talent voice for between 4 weeks and 21 months. And for union talent, there are minimum rates that go along with each of those license terms. So for a 4-week advertisement, it's $385, and talent can always price above that. And for a 21-month spot, it's $2,420. And again, talent can always price above that if they're union talent. With respect to other pricing on the platform, so you asked about unlimited use and how do the ad spots work. So let's say that I'm just making a single advertisement. Let's say it's a HelloFresh advertisement or something similar, right? So that single advertisement, assuming that I'm not varying anything about the location or the product or anything to that effect, I'm charged just for that single advertisement using the structure that we just talked through.
Okay.
So depending on the license term, there will be a different price associated with that license. Outside of that, let's say that I want to produce something like a car dealership advertisement, where I'm then localizing to a bunch of different geographies and might need to vary up things like come to Albuquerque versus come to San Francisco in order to get your car, whatever it might be. So the way that that works in our platform, which you can't currently do, but we are going to be implementing shortly, is if I'm an advertiser and I want to generate, let's say, 20 localized versions of that almost same ad copy, the way that that would work is I'd be basically charged a session fee minimum plus a 50% of that session fee on top of whatever my license term is.
Okay.
Specifically, that would end up being, I think, $775 based on the AI digital waiver, which you can find on SAG-AFTRA's website, which is a separate contract. So it's $775 plus my license term. So if I set my price at, I think for a 4-week spot, we said it was $385. So let's say that's $400. And the session fee additional is just $800, just to make the math simple. So then I, as talent, would be paid $1,200 for a 4-week spot that can be delivered to a bunch of different local dealerships or something similar to that.
Gotcha. And they just put in the names and you don't have to like go through all of them. I mean, I know probably most voice talent like myself have had pages where you just say the same thing over and over again. You just change the city. So that's awesome. I think I already know the answer to this, but what is the benefit to voice actors using the Narrative platform?
So the way that I would frame this would be, what have other AI companies done and what does the AI landscape look like today, right? So we're kind of living, and I don't know if I'm dating myself a little bit by using this analogy, but we're kind of living in a Napster world right now, where I can use anyone's voice for any application and there's almost no regulation and there's no place historically that I've been able to go to where I can actually buy the legally okay version or license the legally okay version of someone's voice. There's no iTunes, right?
Right.
So what we're trying to produce is the actual, maybe iTunes is a little grandiose, but we're trying to create the right platform for advertisers to legally license someone's voice.
Gotcha.
So what's baked into that are a few different components. So it's the 3 C's, right? So, or fair compensation, control, and consent.
Mm-hmm.
But those, some people might just view them as buzzwords. So the question is, how are you actually implementing that?
Mm-hmm.
And the implementation on our site looks like the following. So talent sets their own price. They control which advertisements actually go live, since every ad made on our platform has to be subject to talent review and approval. And then with respect to control, we're effectively just digitizing the SAG-AFTRA, a few different SAG-AFTRA contracts here. And that digitization is the control, right? So it's the structure that the advertiser needs to actually work with AI talent ethically.
Mm-hmm.
So from our perspective, what's the benefit? The benefit is now you're able to take control back of how your AI voice is used. Broadly speaking, you control where it actually is deployed, what it says, everything like that, which you just can't do today.
Right. There's no other place. Yeah.
And you get paid for it, right? So you get paid passively,
right,
or near passively, because it's just a couple of minutes of review work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't even want to do that review work, you can incorporate your agent or your manager into the platform, and they can do that on your behalf.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's really helpful to be able to bring in the agent too, so they don't feel like, what am I going to do now? That's awesome. So voice talent, they can go to Narrative to sign up. There's no like, you don't have to go through some rigorous, process or whatever to get on, right? They just go in, create their profile. What are some ways that voice actors can optimize their profile to be seen or to be booked more?
A couple different things that you can do. One, maybe I'll talk about this one up front. So originally we required that there be a social media connection on the site. About 24 hours into our launch, we ultimately made that optional because talent came back to us and said, hey, I don't want to connect to my social media.
Right.
From our perspective, the reason why it was required initially is because the demographic information that we can pull in by connecting your social media account is valuable to an advertiser. It informed their purchase process, right? So if I know, for instance, that I'm targeting men between the ages of 18 and 24, I probably want to look for talent who might have a follower base that's primarily people of that demographic. One thing they can do to optimize their profile is connect a social media account that has some of that demographic info. If you don't have that, broadly speaking, then don't connect it. The other things that you can do, maybe there are 2 other things. One is you can upload multiple voice samples to the platform. So we only require one, which is a single 30 to 60 second recording of your voice, no sweeteners, please. But that's all that's required to get set up. You can add as many of those as you want to the platform now. Previously, we had, I think, 15 different base emotions that you could try and complete. And then I think about a week or 2 ago, we implemented custom voice tagging, such that if I want to upload a version of me doing a British accent and it's an upper class British accent, that wasn't previously available on the platform. Now I can do that and upload that sample. So that's the second way that you optimize, is by adding multiple voice samples in addition to a social media connection. And the third is just making sure that the tags that you use on the platform to identify who your voice might be the best fit for, that those are reflective of you and are accurate. We've had some people go in and just click every single tag, which can be helpful, but I think if you're an advertiser looking for the right person, ultimately being able to filter on a narrower set of tags could be more helpful to you.
Yeah. Do you have any data yet on what are the main things that some of your advertisers are looking for in voices?
No data on that just yet. I mean, we have some early transaction data in there, but nothing that you could extrapolate to something like a recommendation system. But baked within your question, Heidi, is I think, are you guys going to be able to recommend certain talent to certain advertisers? And the answer on that is that's where we want to go, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm an advertiser and I come in and I say, I'm targeting this group and I have X, Y, and Z budget, we ultimately want to be able to tell that advertiser, like, hey, here are all the people who you could work with. And oh, by the way, for your particular advertising use case, these 3 people or these 5 people have worked with similar vendors and would love to do that with you.
Yeah.
So work with them or look at them first.
Okay. Got it. You already mentioned the SAG agreement, but if you are not in the union, can you still join Narrative?
Yes, you can. So maybe let's talk about the three core groups here, right? So there's SAG-AFTRA, there's FI-Core, and then there's just non-union talent, full stop. So if I'm SAG-AFTRA, of course, I can be on the platform. If I'm FI-Core, I can be on the platform too. The only wrinkle there is that I have to identify as non-SAG-AFTRA on the platform.
Okay.
However, you can still price according to union minimum rates, and when a signatory comes and wants to work with you, you will still get your your pension and health contributions paid into.
Great.
Which is something, by the way, that I should maybe also talk about under the benefit for voice actors on the platform. So every transaction will contribute to your pension and health plan if you're union talent, and if the advertiser is a signatory and you're not union talent, it will contribute to your eligibility to become a SAG-AFTRA talent.
So awesome.
So going back to your question on that, yes, I can work with both union talent, non-union talent via FI-Core, and then just broadly non-union talent.
Okay, awesome. Licensing follow-up, because we talked already about advertisers will say, I'm going to license this voice for 4 weeks or whatever. So is there a system put in place to make sure that it's like once that 4 weeks is up, hey, we need another license?
Yep. So what we'll do at that point is we'll email the advertiser and we'll say, hey, your 4-week license is up. You can upgrade to the next license tranche and pay that difference. Or like you can go all the way to the end at 21 months if you really like the spot and license it for that full term. But ultimately, it'll be something that we put to the advertiser where we say, hey, you either have to pay for continued use of this license or you have to cut it out right now. And you're opening yourself up to liability if you continue to run it without paying that difference.
Yeah. Okay, great. Narrative, where do you plan to go from here? Like, what are the ultimate goals?
Without getting into, ultimate goals are maybe different from what are we going to do in the next year or so. Yeah. Why don't I talk about it in terms of like the near-term future, right?
Okay.
So I think part of what we want to do is land and expand in audio. So make it possible for advertisers and other groups to work with voiceover talent on our marketplace using the same kind of consent, control, and fair compensation structure that we established in advertising. So maybe even a single example here could be helpful. One opportunity that we're looking at right now is co-ed, so corporate and educational work. And if we can offer that using the existing SAG-AFTRA structure and minimum rates, like that's already basically baked into the platform now. It's just another offering. It means that advertisers and other corporate entities can work with talent in an even easier way. And it might open up folks to additional work from additional sources of demand. So I think that's mostly what we're focused on in the near term is bringing that demand to the platform, expanding what that demand can do in the audio space broadly. And from there, we'll see. I think if we can go deep in audio, then there will be ways for us to expand potentially into other mediums, but that's definitely further than a year away. So don't need to go into specifics on that one.
Yeah, no problem. Ben, can you just say out loud for everyone that's listening, because I think that some people may be confused. I know we already touched on it, but part of that control of your voice is meaning you're not going to take that voice. Like once somebody creates a synthetic voice through Narrative, there's no way that you're going to take it somewhere else, or if somebody else buys Narrative, that they can take that voice, correct?
No, they can't take that voice, full stop.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure you said it at the end because I know we'd have people say like, well, what about the voice or whatever? So yes, thank you.
Look, I mean, the big fear here, right, is perpetual use of talent voice without talent getting paid. And any entity that tries to do that, I would run away from personally on my side if I were talent. So no, like there's never the case that we will have perpetual rights to use your voice without paying you. That's not what we want. And it's not how our incentives work, honestly. So maybe talking about, because I'm sure there's a question there about how does Narrative make money, right? How are you guys benefiting from this? Make money once the advertiser or the source of demand checks out in the platform, once they actually go to that final payment step. So all of our incentives are aligned together. We want to make sure that that right to use is not perpetual, because if it is perpetual, then Narrative doesn't get its transaction fee anymore. We're not paid anymore. So we're in the same boat as talent. We're in the same boat as the agent. We're in the same boat on the talent side as everyone else.
Great. Ben, thank you so much for taking time just to share. And we will link to Narrative's website in the show notes so you can go check them out. And yeah, Ben, thank you so much for taking this time with us. We appreciate it.
Of course, great to be here. And please don't hesitate to reach out or email us if you have any other questions. You, Heidi, personally, or anyone listening, we are more than happy to either answer via email or hop on the phone and answer any questions you might have live.